And welcome back once again. So here we are at the last video in this little subsection on terrain generator cleanup, and in this video we'll be cleaning up the sample map method.
Right. This will be the last method that we have to fix in TerrainGenerator, which is a good thing. Get my cursor over here. We're going to start off by fixing this part. We're no longer sending in a texture into SampleMap. Instead, we're going to be sending in a map layer. And we'll just simply call this layer. Now from here, we need to know our map width. Not so much the width anymore, because with this new system, we're kind of forcing the fact that our map should, or it has to be square. So I've kind of set down in stone with this R&D that our map will be square. So now we're going to replace map width and height by just map size. And we can take our map data, and unfortunately we can't do map data.width. We could do length, but that's not going to give us the information that we need either, because if you remember, our map data is a three-dimensional array. So this would give us the entire size of the array, which is all three of these layers times 4. That is not what we're going to need. So we're going to have to get this information from some other place. Right now, until we get the config class in place, this is going to be another magic number. So 2048. I know our map that we're feeding in is 2048. So we also need a half map size still. So we're going to change up one of these to be half map size. And of course, half map size is going to be the map size divided by 2. We no longer need the other half. Go ahead and take our scale and add half map size to both of these. So it's similar to what we had before. The other really obvious change is the fact that we're no longer using map and get pixel. What we're using instead is map data. So I'll go ahead and replace this part first. And map data does not have a method called getPixel because it is an array. So go ahead and clean these up. We no longer need to specify which channel that we're looking for. We also need to specify our layer because if you remember, map data is a three-dimension array. So we need to specify what layer that we're calling in here. And I also need to fix something else. And I see what it is. Because I forgot I casted our layer.
Right.
So map layer is no longer really a layer, it's an integer. So I can switch that up to be an integer. So this will fix it here. Now, you're thinking possibly that all of our errors have gone away and everything is good and wonderful and we can keep working. There is a hidden problem with this. getPixel does a very, very clever and useful thing. It automatically wraps when you go outside of the bounds of an image. So if you specify an X that is greater than the width of the image, it will automatically wrap that around to the left side of the image and figure out where it needs to go. And this all handles it, or is all handled automatically. We don't get that with this. If for some reason we were to use this as is, and we sampled something outside of the 2048 width, we would get an out of range exception error thrown. And actually, because it's a sample map, which would eventually run inside of a thread, we'd get no error. And it would just break. And you'd sit there and go, why did it break? So we need to handle wrapping ourselves. Luckily, it's not that hard. So what we're going to do is we need to modify some of this stuff as well. These are using mathf variations. So I want to use the math equivalents. Now, unfortunately, math does not have a floor to int. It does have a floor, though. So we'll use the floor. And instead of ceiling to int, it has ceiling. Oh, does it have a ceiling to int now? Ceil to int. I was not aware of that one. No. Okay, it's thinking the other one. Yeah, so ceiling. Wonder why that came up then. Interesting. All right, now we still want this to be an integer. So because this is returning a double, we need to cast this to an integer. Now, the way we can handle wrapping is by checking the modulus of our map size. So we'll know when we've gone over the map and we can return it. So what we'll do is if, whoops, helps if I type if instead of fx. What we'll do is check if fx is less than 0, and then we will say fx is going to equal map size plus fx. Now we're going to do the same thing. Come on, there we go. With fz. And we'll do the same thing with cx and cz. So go ahead and copy these. And I still have to do the modulus for everything. So this one will be cx. Oh, still missing that. Actually, I think I hit Control C too fast. So Control C. Go ahead and build that out, make sure there's no errors. So this will handle all of our wrapping for us. Okay. So now we can type in any number. We will not get an out of bounds error with that. Now, we also need to change this because this is relying on the mathf version of lerp. We want to switch it to utils. We can build that out. It all built, and we don't have any errors.
So is height not being used back down there?
Where at?
And in that method right there.
This one? Of course it is. It's being assigned right here.
Oh, there it is. Jump back up some. I just saw. Oh, never mind.
What, you don't?
Yeah.
You hate
no, I
that,
just
don't
saw.
you?
Yeah. Anytime I see gray, it's like But I saw the gray on the 0, and no, it was fine up there. It was just saying that the 0 was redundant code. It wasn't needed because it's initialized to 0 by default.
Yeah, but if you use a var, then it defaults to a 0 int instead of a 0 float. Where it just defaults to a var whatever height is. It doesn't get a type at that point. I think that errors. Because if I do this,
Well, you can't
it's
do
not
that.
going to, yeah, it's not going to be happy. That's why I
No,
use the 0f.
no. What I was getting at is my brain had flipped it around so that I was seeing height as being grayed out, not
Oh,
the
as it
0f.
never being used. Got
Right,
it.
right. Okay, so I guess we should be able to go and try it, shouldn't we?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, you're not getting any errors, and that's as much.
World data. Okay, that's named correctly. Yeah, it could work. There's
Let's see.
only one way to find out.
Let's see how bad it blows up. It's doing something.
Well, that's a start.
Hey, the train looks a bit different.
Yep, it's going to because we're applying a bunch of different algorithm to it now. And if you select on the character so we can see it in the inspector, what do you see?
Hang on.
So we're roughly about 8 meters into the air.
Yeah.
So now
But
if you,
what you want?
oh, I was going to say if we turn, I don't know, can I control this or are you controlling it?
Try. Well, hey, you're actually doing a little bit of control.
Yeah, not much, but so we're close down to sea level here. Now, let's see, if we go ahead and minimize this, or not minimize, but stop playing. Can you do that? I can't.
I sure can. There you go.
All right, so now if we jump over to code again, actually, do you want to do another video with us tweaking around settings and as opposed to keeping it in here?
You can
Because
keep
it is all working. So
you can keep it in here if you want to tweak for a minute.
okay. What I wanted to look at was take our bias and set it to 1. And I think we still have max height set crazily high. Trim patch.
Yeah.
Might have to be because I don't think we've got the image adjusted correctly in Photoshop for gray level.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to see what happens if we do this number. Yeah, go ahead.
All
All right,
right.
great. We got a nice flat landscape. We're, slightly below sea level right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole reason is because of the gray levels that we've got adjusted in our Photoshop image right here. I'm going to open this up. If we hit F8, we look at our gray levels. And let's go ahead and switch panel options, secondary color mode to HSB. So most of our levels are hovering right around the 50% mark.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at 50% or lower is subtractive, with 50% being sea level.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not getting a lot of altitude
No.
additions to any of this. And we're doing that for all of our noises. So we're adding very, very little stuff. Even our brightest areas are only around 80 to 83%.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at our alpha, we've got 50% gray here, and we've got barely any altitude especially where we start in. So if that didn't work right, I was trying to get the zoom box. But if you look at our areas where we're starting at, which is right about here, we're at about 53%, 52%. So we're very, very low on the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we get the very low altitudes, which is why we have to use the crazy numbers. So with this particular system, what you want to do is make sure that your noise has more contrast to it than we've got here, and that your lowest land levels are probably about 70% in the white. We can literally take this image. So if I hit Control A, Control C, Control 0, bring in that, create a new layer, paste that in, go ahead, apply some levels to it. And I've got this in the way. You can see where we've cut off and lost all kinds of information from our source.
Mm-hmm.
Not that way. This will cause us to lose even more information. But it will brighten up our levels. And you can see we're starting to wash out already. Because we've just lost too much information here. But 70, 60, we're still, yeah, we're way too low there. I'm trying to see if I can bring the brightness up a bit without blowing it completely out. All right, so even there we're still low. Just adjust it for the fun of it. Compress or collapse those layers. Control A, Control C. Go back to channels, hit our alpha. Control V. That paste our new one in there. Don't have, ooh, that's not going to work. Delete that level. You got to make sure you're on the right layer when you're pasting your alpha mask.
Yeah, I think you pasted it just fine.
Yeah, okay, that'll work. And then we go ahead and save it out. Don't want it as a copy, want alpha channels. Save.
You want everything disabled?
What's that?
Your visibility back over there? I'm not a Photoshop guy, so do you want all of your channels?
Oh no, it's not going to matter.
Okay.
This is for the preview, not what gets saved out.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not a Photoshop guy. I leave that to you and Zach.
Oh, Photoshop's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so if we bring it back in, we're not going to see it because it doesn't show the alpha channel. But let's see if we've got some altitude.
And we do.
Yep. So bumping up that level is the key to it. Same with the noise. So if you're noticing your noise is making too much of a contribution, wash out the contrast of it and bring it down closer to the 50% range. That will wash out its contribution. Conversely, if it's not making enough of a contribution, crank up its contrast, bring up its levels so its averages are greater than 50%, and it'll make more of a contribution. So now, then again, if you want, we can bring in some water in the next video.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad
wanted
idea.
to play with some water.
Not a bad idea. We still have that 2-second delay in there.
Oh, is it?
Per patch. Yeah, 1, 2. There we go. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good though. All right. Well, then with that, that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot.